Welcome to the Survivor to Thriver show with your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Do you feel stuck, silent, and stressed? Is something hurting your heart and soul? Are you burning yourself out? If so, you are in the right place because this is the podcast people from all over the world join in to learn exactly how to stop suffering and start living with inner peace and joy. Let's get started. The last episode, I was giving you an example of the kind of thing that can happen when you have lots of compassion but not enough empathy. Because remember, compassion helps us connect with other people at the level of our similarities, right? Because it is grounded in our sense of oneness with others. Whereas empathy helps us to appreciate, or at the very least, understand the differences that exist within us. And it's a phenomenon that is an acknowledgement of the diversity that exists, right? Because both things are true. We are one, but we are also diverse in our oneness, right? We're all interconnected, we're all interdependent, but we're all parts of the same whole, but each part of the whole is distinct in its own ways, right? So it's really, really critical that we appreciate both the similarities and the differences that exist between us. So last episode I was giving you the example of, let's say you have experienced some kind of loss in your life. And now you come across someone else who has also experienced loss in their life. So from a place of compassion, you think back to the time when you experienced your loss. And you say, oh, when I experienced my loss, this is how I felt, and this is what I needed, and this is what I wanted. And insofar as you feel compassionately connected to that other person, you say, oh, this person who's suffering this loss, they're probably feeling very similar. And they're probably needing and wanting the same kinds of things that I needed and wanted. And so you may find yourself from a place of great good intention and loving care doing something for this other person that you think they need. And the more specific example that I was giving last episode was, let's say you have the kind of personality where when you experienced loss, you found it really helpful to be around other people and to not be left alone, because being around other people, not being left alone, helped you feel more connected, helped you deal better with your sense of grief and loss. And so with this other person who has also experienced loss, you decide that, you know what, I'm going to make sure that we don't leave this person alone. Like, we need to make sure that they always have someone around them so they can feel supported and loved and not alone. But turns out that this other person has a very different personality than you. What they really need to help themselves heal and process through their grief, their sadness, is some time and space to be on their own. Because maybe, the way that they process best through their feelings is by doing something like writing. Maybe writing is their preferred way of how they process their feelings. Writing as opposed to talking with other people, let's say. It's like you're a real people's person, and you just love to talk through what you're experiencing. But this other person likes to write. And in order to be able to write what they're feeling and experiencing in the open, honest way that they need to be on their own, right? So now, if this is true, and here you are in very well-intentioned ways and for very well-intentioned reasons, you are doing the best you can to make sure that this person's never left alone, you can actually be creating a hindrance in their healing process, right? But now look at things from the other perspective. Now, this other person, you're trying to help them, right? You're trying to show them a lot of love and care, but this person may be finding themselves starting to feel kind of frustrated that they're not able to find any time on their own. They might, in fact, out of that sense of frustration and their need to be alone, may even lash out at you. Or, otherwise act in a way that makes you feel that this person is not appreciating your efforts or is pushing you away or some such thing. Now, if you continue to think from a compassionate perspective, but you're lacking sufficient empathy, you may receive that reaction from this other person and feel really hurt and feel rejected and be like, I don't understand. Why is this person reacting this way? I'm trying to help them. I love them, and they're pushing me away. Why? Why are they doing that? What am I doing wrong? And these may all be questions that are going through your mind. And these are very valid questions. In fact, these are questions that are your mind's attempt to achieve a greater level of empathy. And the best person to answer these questions for you is actually the person that these questions are related to, right? It's like you could continue to try and figure it out on your own. And I've actually seen situations where there are these amazingly compassionate people with hearts of gold, and they're engaging in, really loving actions towards other people, but they're being pushed back, their efforts are being rejected, and they actually feel hurt by that rejection, but they feel almost obligated in a way to continue to engage in what they're doing, to continue to engage in that behavior, despite the rejection, despite the hurt that they're experiencing. And what's happening in these cases is that these people are like thinking, or maybe thinking that, hey, yeah, look, this person's just hurt, they're lonely, they need help, and they're just acting this way because they're hurt. But the best way that we can counter this hurt and transform this hurt is by giving them love. You transform hate with love, you counter darkness with light, and, like that kind of thinking. But it's really, really hard. It's like, it's the other person, the more these people, the more you keep trying to engage in your behaviors and show your love the way you intend to be showing it, the more the other person seems to resist. And it's like, wow, it just gets harder and harder. But it's like you think that if you stop your behavior, if you stop doing what you're doing, you'll fail somehow. And you don't want to fail. You don't want to give up. You don't want to abandon this person. You don't want to leave this person alone, because that's just how much you care about them. Right? And I've seen this kind of thing happening. I won't name names, but I actually have some very close family members who have this kind of tendency. So I've seen them struggling with this. And, for a long time, I struggled myself to understand, like, what's going on here? Why is this happening? And then I realized, oh my gosh, the root cause of this problem is that these particular family members, they have so much compassion, and they're being driven by their sense of compassion, but they're lacking in sufficient empathy. They don't, because they're lacking in empathy for the other person's perspective, they're not realizing and recognizing that what they're doing is not helpful to the other person in the ways that they intend it to be, and that it cannot be helpful to that other person. That person's not just going to change how they're acting in the future just because you keep trying harder and harder. They're going to continue to resist harder and harder because their needs are not being met. Their needs are not being met. The way that you're trying to help them is actually not working for them. See, now because because you're lacking empathy, it's like, whoa, you're also having the reaction that you're having. Now, if you actually are able to get the answers to these questions around, why is this person doing this? Why are they pushing me away? Why are they resisting my efforts? You get these the answers to these questions from an empathetic perspective. You'd realize, my strategy is not a strategy that's working for this other person. This other person right now just needs to be left alone. They need that time and space to help them process through what they're doing. So my intention, my goal is to help this person heal. My intention, my goal is to help this person stop suffering. So I'm going to stay true to that goal, but now I'm going to change my strategy. I'm going to change my tactic. Instead of constantly trying to keep them surrounded by company, I'm going to actually leave them alone. Because I recognize that is what they need. That is a better way of helping them meet their needs. And so then I don't feel rejected, I don't feel hurt, that this person is resisting my efforts to give them company and so forth. And I still am able to honor and act in alignment with my sense of compassion. So you see, when you have empathy along with compassion, it can actually help you become even more effective in your expression of compassion. And maybe even feel more compassionate in some ways towards this other person. The better you understand them, the better you understand their perspective, the more commonalities you're likely to be able to find. Versus if all you're depending on is your own perspective, your own experience of how you think, feel, and act in a given situation, or how you imagine you may think, feel, or act in a given situation. So really, empathy and compassion, they need each other. And they go hand in hand, right? That's what I was saying. That empathy and compassion are really kind of like two sides of the same coin. Now, I know that I said in the last episode that this time we would talk about an example where you can be faced with the challenge of having lots of empathy and not enough compassion. But I see that we're going to run out of time or go way over time if I try to do that this time around. So I promise I am going to talk about that, but we're going to pick up on it next episode. And in the meanwhile, I just want to go ahead and end with the reminder that, hey, if this is something you find yourself struggling with, please do not continue to struggle with it on your own. Reach out for some help and support. And you know that I'm one person you can reach out to. Just go to my website at www.academyofthriving.com, click on the Contact Us page, and you'll see exactly how you can connect with me. So until next time, I wish you lots of peace and joy.